Hello and welcome to another Pauper video. I'm Kalikaiz. Today we are going to be discussing the Magic Online Pauper metagame. We're looking at the Magic Online leagues, what trophied there. We don't have the recap from Kerblinksy this week, so I'm going to just disregard the challenges, but we do have a very large amount of things to talk about. If you look at the tabs, well, you might not be able to see this, but I have 17 or 18 individual spicy decks that actually managed to 5-0 this week. So that's pretty sick. As far as the metagame itself, we had a little bit of a bump in players at 138. So that was pretty cool. Last week we had 120 something. Now the metagame, mono red, the top of the trophies, then Affinity, Black Green Glee, Jund Wildfire. We have Dimir Fey, Bogle's making a resurgence, Dimir Terror, Jund Glee down here. What's pretty sweet is that Altertron has made it from the other essentially to getting on the list, and one of the spiciest decks, Dimir Madness, up here. So that's going to be the last thing we check out. That's sort of a spoiler. I don't know why that shows up there and they're not showing the other things, but whatever. So if you look at the combined metagame, which really only combined Glee combo here, Glee is the second most trophied with deck, so it's mono red, Glee, and then Affinity. We had some pretty sweet standouts. In the Pauper challenges this week, it looked like from Kerblinksy's data that there was a lot of Glee doing well, mono red doing well. It just kind of went back and forth. But let's check out some of these crazy spice from the week. Who cares about the metagame? Let's check out the deck lists. So the first thing I wanted to check out was Raptor 56's Ephemeratron or Flickertron. Now, Raptor is an old school Pauper player who got a real job and isn't playing a lot more Pauper nowadays, but they are on a pretty sweet deck where they're playing 4 Brainstorm and 4 Lorien Revealed. They have an old video describing how this works, but essentially they're using the Brainstorm Lorien Revealed to fix and set up their hand. Only 4 Energy Refractor as ways to filter the mana specifically, but otherwise a pretty stock Tron deck, playing Rolling Thunder as their main win condition instead of just using Murmuring Mystic or Dinrova Horror or anything like that. The next deck I want to check out is Dimir Terror by Carves. This is essentially mono blue terror, so they have 14 islands and 2 aquifers, which they can search up with the Lorien Revealed, but they do have some sweet tech. One is Foil. They can discard an island and another card to counter a spell. And discarding Sneaky Snacker is almost the only way that they can cast it. So it's pretty sick that they can discard that there. Otherwise, it looks pretty similar to a regular mono blue terror deck, but they're able to put Unexpected Fangs in the main deck. And I don't see any snuff out specifically, but they're splashing for Unexpected Fangs, Suffocating Fumes, and Sneaky Snacker. Really cool. Moving up, we have a Jund Affinity from Dykel21. So this is Mirror Enforcer, Refurbished Familiar, and then they have Krarkland Shaman to wipe the board. Then otherwise it looks pretty similar to an Affinity deck. I just thought it was interesting that they were playing Jund specifically. They do have Evolution Witness plus the Implement of Ferocity, and that means that for colorless and in green, you can draw a card and make your Evolution Witness bigger and bigger and bigger and just keep drawing through your deck. That's a cool way to play it. We have a burn deck, usually not very spicy, but we do see a new card here with Burner Rocket. When it enters, target creature you control gets +2/+0 and gains trample until end of turn, and you can crew it for 1. So pretty easy to crew in this deck, putting a bunch of 1/1s out. They're also playing Inventor's Axe and Hearth Charm. Hearth Charm says destroy target artifact creature or all attacking creatures get +1/+0, or target creature with power 2 or less is unblockable. So it's a 5th pump effect on top of their Goblin Tomb Raider, which is also a way to, actually 5 and 6, and it's also a way to deal with artifacts on the table. Pretty interesting. Otherwise looking pretty stock. And now we have an Abzan Gardens by Molax. It's not really Gardens. Molax likes to play Turbo Initiative essentially. So they have 4 Freebooter, 4 Shambling Ghast, and Culling the Weak. To turn your Shambling Ghast or Freebooter into 4 black and a treasure token, which is able to cast your 4 Avenging Hunters or Singleton Goliath Paladin. Otherwise, it's basically a sacrifice-based control deck, and can sometimes just oops, I turn 1 the Avenging Hunter, or turn 2, I guess, which is very cool. Next we have Altertron. I posted this deck as well on my channel, so you can check out those videos, but the new card Pactol Terror is actually really good. It's a house. Whenever this creature or another artifact you control enters, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. That means that you're just doing your thing like normal and spewing out artifacts and just draining out your opponent. And it actually makes these kinds of artifact trinket decks very, very, very strong. I'm looking to try and record another eggs video and see if I can get a good list there going, but it's very cool. Next we have Mardu Ephemerate. I wanted to pick this out. People enjoy ephemerating their refurbished familiars, which is gross, but it's something that you can definitely do. They're playing 4 Cleansing Wildfire to mana fix, allowing them to play Snuff Out in their main deck. And then you have the Ardent Elementalist Ephemerate, and essentially a Ratlock, where you can ephemerate Refurbished Familiar in your opponent's draw step, forcing them to discard the card. And of course, if they do cast the card because it's an instant and they're hellbent and and the ephemerate resolves, then you still get to draw a card because Refurbished Familiar is super broken. Cool deck if you like playing mid-range strategies. We have a Turbo Fog by Esqual 2003. And I think this is the deck that Kerblinksy, yeah, he came in 17th in the Pauper qualifier playing this. I don't know if he or this player was the creator of this version. Looks like maybe Squall was. But they're playing 2 Coalition Honor Guard in the main deck. Essentially, Black-Green Glee can't do anything about this because they have no removal spells in the main. So if you get to 4 mana and you get your Flag Bearer in play, you're going to win game 1. And then in the sideboard, they have 4 Spellsetter Sprite for the Glee, and Crypt Rats, Fairy Macabre, very interesting. They also have the Toxin Analysis Crypt Rats combo. Just wanted to point out that they're going hard trying to beat the Glee deck, and maybe it worked out. I don't know how their league went specifically. Next deck is Glint Blade. I know this is also a fan favorite. You play your Glinthawk, you pick up your Refurbished Familiar, you recast it, you strip your opponent's hand. People love it, and they are deciding to play 2 Grim Bauble, which is a pretty sweet card. Helps for affinity. It's a -2/-2, and you can sacrifice it to Surveil. They've also decided to play a Campfire to loop their deck if the game gets really long. I'm not signing up for that, but there are people who enjoy it. We have BRG. So this is Jund. Jund Gardens. Pretty much a Gardens deck, except they're playing 4 Malevolent Rumble, which I haven't seen in Gardens previously. Then they've got an Accursed Marauder, 2 Accursed Marauder to pick up with the Rumble. Got Raven's Crime. You can put that in your graveyard with the Rumble and then still use it. Pretty good way to use the excess lands that you draw while just drawing through your deck with your Deadly Dispute and your Viscer's Insight. So if you're interested in a mid-range control strategy, this could be something that you might enjoy. We have Naya Bully by Super Zix. So this is red-white Bully, splashing specifically for Writhing Chrysalis. Pretty wild. They also have 4 Springleaf Drum. So they're able to put their small creatures on the table and then ramp quickly into the Writhing Chrysalis and then just overpower your opponent with a bunch of huge things. I definitely think this deck is pretty cool. They're playing Sigil Blessing in the sideboard. Target creature you control gets +3/+3, and other creatures you control get +1/+1. It's a pretty good Anthem effect for sure. Otherwise, pretty normal. 3 Obsidian Acolyte for Glee. Makes sense. Moving up the line, we have BRG by HJC. This is Jund. Jund Ramp. So they're only playing 1 Swamp. They are playing Twisted Landscapes, specifically to splash for 4 Snuff Out in the sideboard. Snuff Out is just basically... it seems to be required if you want to be playing Pauper right now, because you have to defeat the Glees. So they're playing 4 Vines of Vastwood, 4 Snuff Out. Pretty interesting. I've actually been trying to play Snuff Out in Altertron, and it's been pretty good. I have a video of that coming up as well. Now we have Dimir Control by Sesta, who Sesta is the person I believe that created the red-green Madness burn, so they like to come up with the spice. So congrats to that. Maybe they will sneak into the comments and talk about this deck. But this is essentially the Sprite Snacker control deck that Barf has been playing. So I like to call that Dimir Fey, but it's listed as Dimir Control in a lot of places. Yeah, you aren't ninjaing your spell setters, but you are just using the Sprite package. And then they have 4 refurbished familiars because they're playing an artifact-based mana base with Blood Fountain, Nile Spellbomb, and Ichor Wellspring to support that as well. So it's basically the same deck playing refurbished familiar. Kind of awesome. Now moving up the refurbished familiar control decks, we have a Cleansing Wildfire Grixis deck playing 4 Snacker, 4 Refurb, and 3 Krarkland Shaman. So it is just it looks like Cleansing Wildfire control. Pretty cool. Kind of ditching the affinity stuff for the Cleansing Wildfire for ramp. But Galvanic Blast is good in that deck as well. We have another Grixis from Adeptoterra. So this is almost the same thing, except instead of playing Krarkland Shaman, they're playing 4 Murmuring Mystic. So 4 Snacker, 4 Mystic, 4 Refurb. Lots of 4-ofs over here. 2 Galvanic Discharge, but no other energy stuff that I can see. 4 Cast Down, so 6 removal spells. And then a ton of draw spells, Cleansing Wildfire, Counterspell, Wellspring, and then Last Rites. Very strong. They actually managed to 10-0 and trophy 2 times in this league. The next list, we are getting there. I thought this was going to be the spiciest deck, and it wasn't. So we're moving up. This is the Steelfin Whale combo, and the last player to do well with it, I guess, was Denny. So I want to take a look at this list after. But it uses Steelfin Whale plus Retraction Helix to bounce and replay Frogmite forever and kill your opponent with Pactol Terror. One thing that people have talked to me about was that you could, instead of playing Frogmite, play Tooth of Chisgoria, which if you're attacking with your creatures, you can Retraction Helix on the whale and then replay it, giving infinite power to all your creatures that are attacking. So if any are not blocked, your opponent is just dead. So that can be a win where you don't have the Frogmite in play. Otherwise, the deck is interesting. I recorded a video with this as well that'll be up this week. It's difficult for me to wrap my brain around how to play an affinity deck, but I think people have been enjoying it overall. It was first showing up in one of the IPTs where they took first place. Otherwise, I don't see anybody else placing with it recently. I saw one player playing Grim Bauble in this deck, but it looks like this player did not. Okay, I think that would be a good thing to put in this deck specifically. And speaking of Grim Bauble, we have Mono Black Artifacts by USP Dudes. USP Dudes was one of the first players to invent or start working on the Gardens deck, and they basically created the green-black Gardens deck. This is Mono Black Artifacts, essentially, playing Pactol Terror and Refurbished Familiar, Blood Fountain, Grim Bauble, Wellspring. All this stuff is really good to hit with your Deadly Disputes and your Fanatical Offerings, and Pactol Terror closes games really, really well. They managed to get double trophy on this day, the 21st. So I think that this has actually been something that people have really been picking up. And now, the spiciest deck of the week. This is Dimir Madness. So Just Gens is a mad lad playing Dimir Madness with Sneaky Snacker to get back. They have Thought Courier and Merfolk Looter as discard engines. And it looks like that's mostly it, other than some Dahada's ploy over here. Hellmongrel is a 4/3 that you can madness out for 2 and a black. It also is a discard engine. And they have Bone Shards, Brainstorm, Lorien Revealed, Obsessive Search, which is draw a card for madness for blue. So turns looting into just a draw 2, I guess. Spell Pierce, Counterspell, bunch of circular logics. Dark Withering is a cool one here. Dark Withering says destroy target non-black creature and you can madness it for black. They have a lot of good ways to do that, and I guess that was good enough because they're not playing Snuff Out. So congratulations to Just Gens. I think that this is the spiciest deck I've ever seen in the leagues. I've never ever seen someone trophy with Dimir Madness before. Hopefully you enjoyed this little overview of the spice that's happening in the Magic Online leagues. I'm happy to see that people are experimenting and having some success. Hopefully you enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next video.